Is Keen Duelist what Legacy Show and... Alright, I'm getting a call. Keen Duelist isn't on Magic Online, and the entire thing that I planned my video around today isn't gonna work? Alright. Well, I guess I'm gonna eat bacon until I'm not sad anymore, and then I'll go back to the drawing board. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today I'm going to be playing Show and Tell. Unfortunately, Keen Duelist revealing Emrakul the Aeons Torn is not going to be in the cards today. But I am going to have some other spice for you, as Kevin wanted me to try Show and Tell with some new cards, and I found a spicy new strategy that we can work with. So, Show and Tell decks are kind of split up into a couple different categories right now. There's Sneak and Show, which splashes red for sneak attack. There's like omni-tell decks or omni-show decks that are just mono blue. And then there's also versions that are splashing colors or maybe even running something like Vesuvian Drifter as an alternate win condition. I wanted to showcase a sort of new strategy today, so we're going to be throwing the One Ring into this shell. Phil, this isn't exciting. We've already seen that the One Ring is like a good card. What spice do you actually have for us? Great question, Timmy. How would you feel about producing infinite mana with Power Artifact and then hardcasting your Emrakul? Got your attention now? By enchanting a Grim Monolith or a Basalt Monolith with Power Artifact, the untap ability costs more mana, meaning that you actually produce infinite mana. You get 3 mana when you tap this, and untapping it costs 2 mana, meaning that we can hardcast colorless cards specifically. We'll have infinite colorless mana, like the One Ring or Karn the Great Creator. And then we can use Karn the Great Creator's ability to get something like Magma Mine or Walking Ballista that we can funnel that infinite mana into to actually get a kill on our opponent. So we've got a pretty spicy deck list today. Let's take a look at the full thing. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com as well as Cool Stuff Inc. And remember, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order at Cool Stuff Inc. if you decide you need to buy your Magma Mines or other cool cards. So this is the deck list in all of its glory. This is a 5-0 deck list from the Hollywood MK, which has an incredibly light black splash for a couple pieces of discard. And I assume this is a very, very intentional choice, and Plague Engineer is also an option in the sideboard. I imagine, just in addition to Plague Engineer being good, this is also potentially a nod to Orcish Bowmasters just being everywhere in the format right now. So we have a couple of A plus B combos. We can get Power Artifact and Grim Monolith, or we can get Show and Tell and Emrakul or Omniscience. And in addition to that, like Karn the Great Creator plus Liquid Metal Coating can still just steal games of Legacy, right? Like we still have the Mycosynth Lattice lockout here. And while Grim Monolith is primarily for the infinite mana combo, you could just use that to cast a Karn or the One Ring a turn early and spiral those into card advantage. We'll see how the One Ring feels in a world of Orcish Bowmasters. Like, obviously, it's very strong, but we're already playing a ton of cantrips in this shell, and we don't really have removal for Bowmasters, and we have limited counterspell options, so we'll see if this ends up being good or a trap. I did a little research in the Show and Tell Discord and saw that people didn't like the fact that this did not pitch to Force of Will. So let's see how it plays. Let's battle. All right, you ready for the Phil curse? As long as I don't get wastelanded, this hand is amazing. Here we go. Well, I'm going to take Force of Will. And then cast Show and Tell on turn 2. Did not get wastelanded. You may ponder. There's a shuffle. Daze could be the card that my opponent randomly drew. Otherwise, I'm good, but we are here to jam. This gives my opponent an extra land drop. They can cast Doomsday on their turn, but I don't imagine that matters because they have to win the same turn that they cast the Doomsday, and I know most of their hand. All right, we're on the Fetch to Thin. There we go. Ooh, yeah, Cabal Ritual into Doomsday was one of the things that could possibly do it. I think they need Brainstorm as their last available card here. Ooh, there is the Brainstorm. It is possible for me to die. Yep, LED. Cycle Street Wraith, hold priority, crack LED, cast a Consider, cycle Street Wraith, and Thassa's Oracle. That is a frustrating loss where my opponent kind of had the perfects. And I knew their hand too, so like they had to draw the Cabal Ritual to have the extra mana, and they had to have the Brainstorm too. So they are a build with Thoughtseize. The One Ring. Wild. Okay. So I do have Force of Wills and Dazes that I care about here. And a little bit of discard. Got it. For the most part, I'm not really planning on sideboarding because most of this is a Karn package. I'll probably play the Fluster. The One Ring's pretty slow here. I think I'll just board that out. I could play Surgical Extraction to shuffle Doomsday piles, but I don't really know that I am excited about that. This is turn 3 cast Show and Tell with no counterspells, no manipulation. Despite the fact that I have my A plus B combo, I don't really know that this wins. I am going to mulligan. This is awkward. I would throw 1 power artifact back here. If I ponder, hit a land, I can Thoughtseize on turn 2. I will still need, like, I need land, thing for Show and Tell. That's a lot. I think I keep it, though. This is not the best ponder in the world. Feels like no. Like, I need the lands for the Show and Tell, but I don't want to necessarily draw through all of that stuff. Because I don't imagine any one thing here just obliterates this matchup, and I can't cast this Thoughtseize. Like, I can't curve Thoughtseize into Karn. So let's shuffle. Next turn's definitely scary. But at least nothing's happening on turn 1 here. I am going to ponder rather than brainstorm. Yes. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. I'll need another land as a natural draw next turn, but I think I just have to Thoughtseize now. My opponent did not cast anything on their turn. So I'm going to try to force a bad brainstorm here, or otherwise take one of their good cards. All right. I've taken something that could counter Show and Tell. We'll call that a win. Definitely scared here. My opponent has more interaction than I do. I also have to worry about sideboard Bowmasters, which is awkward. But I believe that I am supposed to brainstorm before casting the Duress, because if I hit Ancient Tomb, I can Show and Tell. Bowmasters be damned. Yeah. Am I jamming, or am I casting Duress? Vulnerable to Daze right now, which I don't really like. I think I cast the Duress. Okay. I bury one of these, and then whatever card is most valuable to me, I put on top of my library, and that's Show and Tell. All right, here we go. That is a lot of Doomsday. I will take Force of Will. Okay, we should win the game next turn. Unless my opponent spikes a new Force of Will as their draw. I beat Daze already. I guess it could be Fluster. No, their draw was Underground Sea. So we just win this one. All right, my opponent goes to 9. Let's take a quick look at this zone here, see if there's anything spicy. Some Force of Negations. Yeah, okay, there's a Singleton Bowmasters that I can see. All right, Show and Tell. Omniscience. Cast Emrakul. My opponent conveniently has dropped their life total, so my opponent is dead. No sideboard changes. Alright, I've kept an okay opening hand here. I have Show and Tell, Emrakul, 2 lands, Ponder, and a Force of Will effect. Ooh, and a Fluster. I will hold up Fluster rather than cast Ponder this turn. Alright, movement from my opponent. Yeah, your Ponder's fine. I'm not gonna attack those. That was a shuffle. Nice, I hit the 3rd land naturally. Do I still ponder? I still ponder. Orcish Bowmasters is a thing that could happen, but I don't think that's super relevant. Like, I don't use my Force of Will on that. I just let my opponent ping me. This game is not about Orcish Bowmasters. None of that stuff's that interesting to me. Yes, this is the exact card that I wanted to draw when I cast the Ponder. That's fantastic. I believe that is worth doing and dropping Fluster, because this simultaneously disrupts their combo while potentially protecting mine. Yeah, I will take your Fluster. And that clears the way for me to have Show and Tell for Emrakul next turn. Alright, Caverns on Merfolk. I take 3. There's 1 unknown card. Chances of winning are extremely high here. Don't think which land I grab really matters. I will Emrakul. My opponent puts in nothing. Now I have Force of Will backing an Emrakul. And my opponent concedes. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to keep your online deck lists. And one of the things that I love about them is that you can use it to keep track of what cards you do and don't have for a deck. So for example, in this deck list, I have all of the cards, so there are nice blue bubbles filled in here, and that's automatically ported over to your collection tab, where you can see exactly what cards you do and don't have. Alright, my opening hand doesn't really look good here. I just don't do anything. This isn't great either. This one's clunky, folks. I think this one is a keep, and I pitched the Karn. Power Artifact is going towards Force of Will. I believe I preordain first. If memory serves, my opponent plays Show and Tell a lot themselves. So I would like to find a fatty to put in off of their Show and Tell, more than I would like to Thoughtseize to stop Show and Tell right now. Bottom Force, top Brainstorm. Signs point to maybe. No shuffle there. I think I want 4 looks at a fatty. Found one. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. Let's fetch and cast the Thoughtseize. Okay. Yes, I'll take the Brazen Borrower. There's a land drop from my opponent. And you can ponder. No shuffle again. I would like to make my land drop here. I'm going to let my opponent's Veil of Summer turn into a cantrip. I put back Emrakul. Have Force of Will, pitch Omniscience available. Next turn, cast Power Artifact. No, maybe I put Power Artifact on top. Yeah, my opponent's not a discard deck. Probably. I'm probably overthinking this. Put back Emrakul, Power Artifact, cast Grim Monolith. Yeah, there's the Veil of Summer just to cycle and draw a card. Your Brainstorm's fine. It's possible I should just counter that and force like the use of Veil of Summer and a tap out so that I can't get Force of Willed plus Veil of Summered on my own turn. There's a Volk. And I'm going to be the first one to attempt to go for it here. Blue. Power Artifact targeting Grim Monolith. Alright. I now get to make infinite mana, as I just get to tap and untap this. And now I'll cast the Emrakul. Alright, good stuff. And my opponent has conceded. Again, we have relatively limited options as far as sideboarding goes, since we do have this Karn tutor package. That probably just means boarding in Flusterstorm, and that's about it. I could play Grafdigger's Cage for sneak attack. I don't know whether my opponent is on that. If they are, it's very important, but they could just be splash for red elemental blasts. I don't actually know. I'm going to opt to board it in and be okay with it if I'm wrong. I'm going to maybe board out Pact of Negation here. And maybe one Preordain. This is an incredibly awkward hand, because I can turn one Grim Monolith. I don't have black, and I also don't have blue for power artifact, and I also don't have an Emrakul. So I think this one goes back, despite being very close to doing something busted. I think this is fine. All this needs to do is make land drops, and it will eventually be good. The Omniscience is very important when I cast my own show and tells. Hey, a land drop. I am going to go ahead and ponder. I can hit both of my next 2 land drops if I take this, or I could just start looking for the show and tell. I never want this card. The other 2 are like fine. I think since I naturally drew a land, I can shuffle this. Oh-ho, rewarded. I've got show and tell, Omniscience, Emrakul, and a Fluster to protect it. Now the only thing I basically want is lands. Fluster doesn't fight over sneak attack, which is a little bit awkward. Alright, we're chilling. I'm also chilling. I was rewarded with the show and tell draw for shuffling a while back, but I now have not hit my land drops. Ooh, the spice. I love it. If you want to hear a lot about this card, I have a podcast episode from last week, the Eternal Glory podcast, where we talk about how impactful this and other things of this cycle are. All right, new land drop from my opponent. All right, there is another land drop. I'm not going for this show and tell right now. There's just absolutely no way in hell it resolves. Opponent has so much mana. 5? Lorien revealed. Yeah. I could fluster that. Attempt to make them tap out and then cast a show and tell, luck into a Force of Will as my draw. I don't think I do that. I hate this. Yep. There's a ponder on my end. Force of Will is a fine draw. 4th land drop also isn't bad. I am not going to draw the Force and kind of hope that my opponent keeps waiting so that I can make my land drop and not discard. We'll see how that goes. Next turn, I think I probably have to think about going for it. There's so much mana. Fuck me. I'm so punished. That sure doesn't get countered by Flusterstorm. F. Well, at least my opponent is tapped low. But Lotus Petal, Veil of Summer, and what I presume is Red Elemental Blast backup is rough. Yep. Opponent has discarded an Emrakul. Alright, it's go time. I just think if I don't do something now, I don't realistically have a shot at doing something that wins. So, I cast Show and Tell. My opponent, Force of Wills. I Force of Will their Force of Will. Pitching one of the copies of Power Artifact here. That doesn't do anything right now. I guess it kind of does. If I Karn minus, make infinite mana. That assumes Omniscience resolves. Pitch the second Omniscience. Fuck. Okay. I'm gonna cast Flusterstorm and lose this fight. Last one can target the original Force of Will, I guess. What am I doing wrong here? Yeah, it doesn't matter because my opponent's gonna fetch Veil of Summer. Yep. All right, the stack clears. My opponent has an Atraxa. I have a way to get infinite mana a couple turns from now, but this is so much damage. 0 protection Karn. Pitchcast. So I have 5 looks at a show and tell next turn. So I'm not out of this yet, but I don't think I'm going to win the game. So I ponder. If I had another mana, the One Ring would be interesting. Yeah, we will shuffle those. There's a land that will not do it. I'm going to duress my opponent here and see if I see anything interesting. Get fucked, Phil. I will concede. My opponent's Lorien revealed was so good. Do I want Cage for sneak attack still? Does my opponent's list have room for Atraxa, Lorien revealed, and all those Veil of Summers while also having sneak attack? Maybe not. Maybe they do. This is fine. Is it? It's fine. I wouldn't go so far as good, but it's fine. Like, I don't like the second Emrakul in my hand, but I can brainstorm to get rid of that. And raw dog a show and tell on turn 2. I don't hate it. I think my opponent's deck gets better the longer the game goes. I think I'm willing to gamble here. Like, if they just put in Atraxa, that doesn't beat Emrakul. Ooh. You're going for it on turn 1. I mean, show me Omniscience. Okay, they have Omniscience. And Intuition. This should lead to my death one way or another. Yep, alright. You get the Emrakul, and I will concede to your casting of Emrakul here. Yeah, my opponent took a risk. The risk was worth it. I also took a risk. Mine wasn't worth it. Okay, so we are playing against goblins. I think this hand is a keep. If I find show and tell, I just junk my opponent. If I find another blue source, I just junk my opponent. It's a good place to be. Like, I could just mulligan until I have the show and tell in hand. But I don't think I have to go that deep with a ponder in hand already. Karn's interesting. I can cast it next turn. I don't think I want to do that. Let's just shuffle. Like, blue land is just so incredibly good that I don't think I can pass on it. Ancient Tomb. Not always in the Goblin's mana base. Snoop's fine. Move that up there. That's a beautiful swamp. I don't want to brainstorm lock myself. Kind of just want to play the One Ring, tap Grim Monolith, but I'm going to ponder. Fantastic. No shuffle. Go ahead and cast a Grim Monolith and pass the turn. Munitions Expert is fine. That is not fine. I am dead. That gets Kiki Jiki. Kiki Jiki makes a copy of Snoop. And I know how this goes from here. Okay, so what happens is my opponent tutors up Sling Gang Lieutenant and then can start sacrificing creatures, and I die to that. All right. I'll probably bring in some Plague Engineers on Goblin and more or less call that good. I don't really need Duress. My opponent can have Red Elemental Blasts. But this misses too much stuff, I think. This is a hard nope from me. I think this is also just a no. I have no manipulation. I don't have a third land drop. Yikes. Okay. God, this is a mull to 5 already. F. I'm gonna get rid of Ponder here in what might seem like absolute fucking nonsense, but I've got a plan. So the plan is Karn the Great Creator for the One Ring and try to spiral the One Ring into a win. All right, land, go. Show and Tell is a cool draw. 2 mana. Monolith. 3 mana, 4 mana. Karn. Karn minus. Yes. Now, to talk about this line, I could also just straight up grab Mycosynth Lattice and show and tell it in, but I don't think that goes well for me enough of the time that it's worth doing. Like, I don't have Karn defended right now, and there's not an ensnaring bridge over here. There's a Goblin Matron. Finding a Crater Maker. Plan has changed. Cast show and tell. Put in Emrakul. Hoo. Might be dead. I guess I'll put a Walking Ballista to hand for the times that I am not dead. I'm dead if my opponent has a red mana. It is a Goblin Trashmaster. 3 mana for Crater Maker. Oh shit, that can just destroy the Emrakul. It's colorless non-land permanent. Shit, I messed up. I got excited when I drew Emrakul. I should have just cast the One Ring. I just punted this game. So my opponent fetches, copies Crater Maker. Kill Emrakul. Okay, sure. Yeah, I had just dismissed the Creator Maker as irrelevant because it didn't kill. Like, I don't care if it kills Karn and it doesn't kill the One Ring. Alright, they found a Snoop. Alright. Chrome Mox as well. Sure. And Snoop's in play. So I can cast the Plague Engineer and keep them from copying Matron. That just stops me from losing the game temporarily. I think it is better to take a risk and play the One Ring. Get protection from everything. Or no, that... They just fucking kill me on my turn. I got rattled this game and then just like made a gajillion more punts in a row after that. Harbinger's good. Alright, so I lose some life to the One Ring. And then my opponent just combos off in response. Yeah, they can continue to combo off in response to the other card draw. Alright, yeah, I punted this one. I needed to play Plague Engineer. I still think I like lose the game a lot of times for just playing Plague Engineer. Like my opponent's deck has removal and is built to beat Plague Engineer. My opponent has mulligan to 5 for this round. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm looking for 1 land and then a piece of fat of some kind. I think I'm just going to preordain. No, I'll ponder this turn. Am I willing to draw show and tell and land? I think so. So I will use my next turn to both ponder and preordain. I could force of will that. I don't think I will. I'm going to fetch and clear. Just get a basic. I'm gonna ponder first, take 4 looks. They're not what I'm looking for. I will shuffle. Omniscience is not what I'm looking for. I will preordain. Yikes. I guess that's fine. I will probably just cast Show and Tell for Omniscience next turn and assume that some string of cantrips will get me there. Blighted Halfling is quite good. I am fine taking 2 points of damage and going to 17. Our artifact. I'm gonna kind of try to trust in my deck here. Put an Omniscience into play. It's the indestructible thing. Fuck. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. God damn it. Cool. I just lost an unlosable game to a card that probably isn't legacy playable, but here we are. Knight of the Reliquary is fine. Force of Wills don't work anymore. Yep, that's fine. That's incredibly frustrating. Thank you, Power Artifact. Very nice. I will put back a Power Artifact and an Omniscience. I'll fetch declare. It's not the difference between death, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's not the difference between death. I guess I can just like draw an Emrakul and cast that for free. That's a Knight of the Reliquary activation for a Wasteland. That's fine. I don't care about that. See what else my opponent has going on. Bowmasters is very good. We're going to sack the Orc. Get an Ignoble Hierarch. I get attacked for 4. Or sorry, 5. Let's draw an Emrakul, I guess. Yeah, I can make infinite mana and then not do anything with it. That's very frustrating. Alright, Active Negation and Duress can go out for 2 copies of Plague Engineer, and then I'll play Grafdigger's Cage, probably in a slot of Force of Will. Get hosed by Boromir randomly being in my opponent's hand again? Sure. So let's preordain. A bottom Thoughtseize. Do I take Ponder to cast off of Omniscience? I think so. Alright. I am just going for it. There's Omniscience. That's probably a singleton. And Force of Vigor. Fuck you. That's so upsetting. I didn't mean it, opponent. You didn't do anything wrong. Like, good play. I'm at 15 after all that is said and done. I think it's more important to ponder here. Yikes. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't brainstorm. Still did not get rewarded with a land drop. Also, I just noticed that my... never mind. Alright, there's another land drop. Yeah, I think my opponent kept their hand fully on just having Boromir. Alright, I'm dead if this brainstorm doesn't do a thing. Yeah, pretty close to dead. So make a land drop. Next turn I cast Grim Monolith. The following turn I... Alright. This is just so slow. And I probably just get, like, Bowmastered at some point. Alright, new land drop from my opponent. They attack for 3. I Grim Monolith. And then attempt to do something that resembles going off next turn. Yeah, Fiend Artisan untapping is a disaster. It can mean something like Collector Oof. So, I cast Power Artifact on Grim Monolith. I'm going to make infinite mana. My opponent has let me do this a couple of times and is now fetching. Sure. Go ahead and cast the One Ring. Got protection from everything. Draw a card. Not great. Do this again. Cast a new copy of the One Ring. Keep the untapped one. Get another protection from everything. Okay, cool. My opponent's dead. Okay, my opponent has conceded, which I very much appreciate. I just explained my kill. All right. Boromir is going to make me become the Joker. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to board in another copy of the One Ring just as a fair card draw card. I don't think I do versus my opponent having Orcish Bowmasters. Yep, 100% keeping this. It's just turn 2 show and tell for Emrakul, and Boromir doesn't get to wreck me. Not sure if I'm supposed to play Grim Monolith on turn 1 or cast Ponder. Like, I'm very unsure about that. If I cast Grim Monolith, sometimes my opponent uses resources to stop it, which is cool. But I think I am just going to cast Ponder. That's a tough one. I think I still take the Omniscience and cast Emrakul. Boromir beats that. So Brainstorm on bottom. Put Omniscience in my hand right now. No shuffle. The extra turn with Emrakul is just really nice because of things like Grist that my opponent could play out. Alright, 1 point of damage is fine. My opponent probably has Orcish Bowmasters, which doesn't matter right now. Cast Show and Tell. That's Orcish Bowmasters, that's fine. I go to 16. I Show and Tell in Omniscience. I cast Emrakul for free. And my opponent concedes the game. GG's. There is risk associated with this hand. This hand probably kills on turn 3. As long as Ponder hits any land, this Force of Will doesn't really work. Unless I draw another random blue card. I am going to keep this, I think. Island Ponder. No shuffle. I do need Underground Sea. So I can't really play around Wasteland here. I don't think. I don't know. I just lose the game to Wasteland 100% of the time. Maybe I just treat Thoughtseize as a dead card for a little while and ponder. How is Ancient Tomb? I'd like it a lot more if I got Underground Sea, honestly. I think I shuffle this despite the fact that that is a land drop. Yeah, I just don't want 2 of these cards. Beautiful. There's also a chance that I am playing against an opposing Show and Tell deck. That's very real. Okay, they've just made their land drop. That's fine. I still don't know what my opponent's playing. I'm just gonna stay on basics and cast a Grim Monolith. naturally drawing another land so that I could Thoughtseize. Ooh, okay, now I know what my opponent's playing. It's Death Shadow. So that I could Thoughtseize before committing to a combo would be super cool. Awkward. Bowmasters is also a thing that I have to worry about, so I can't really cast Brainstorm. This is probably still fine. Power Artifact, targeting this. That's a Force of Will. Since I'm scared of Bowmasters, I Force of Will pitching Brainstorm. And see if my opponent can fight back further. Ooh, looks like yes. I see. Okay. It's 3 lands and Force of Will. It's just, do I do the Force of Will face up or face down? I think I do the Force of Will face down. They always pick this pile, because this pile sucks. I don't know, maybe that's not true. Maybe I do the Force of Will face up and make them think the face down pile is better. Oh shit, they put Force of Will into their graveyard. They got 3 lands. Nice. Got them. Alright, my opponent has agreed to just concede to Walking Ballista. So I will cast Karn, Karn minus, and grab Walking Ballista. Well, they said they would concede to me showing Walking Ballista. Not so much. See if they will just concede to me putting it into play. Nope. Okay, they will. There we go. Sorry, I showed it when I tutored it. I guess they missed that. We're playing against Death Shadow. Flusterstorm's okay. Plague Engineer on Orc is okay. I don't know that I love Pact of Negation. It's solid with the power artifact lines. Maybe I keep it. Maybe I just don't sideboard. Flusterstorm's okay. I'm just gonna whack the submit button. Okay, I kind of have an average hand that doesn't really do anything. It's very soft to Orcish Bowmasters if I keep this. I do think I'm just gonna keep it though. Like, I just have such a strong ability to sculpt my hand here. I am going to just fire off 1 Brainstorm before my opponent can play a Bowmasters. These cards aren't great. I'm going to junk 1 Brainstorm and redraw a land. Then I'll shuffle before casting my next cantrip. This is fine. This doesn't represent Orcish Bowmasters. Yes. And they have pitched Orcish Bowmasters. I don't know that any of the cards in my hand are worth 2 cards. Alright, 1 show and tell down. Null Rod. With Null Rod there, I don't want this Karn anymore, so I'm going to cast the Brainstorm prior to the fetch land. Show and tell Emrakul, Force of Will backup. Karn goes on top. Brainstorm goes on top. I think I want both my lands. I might not want that Brainstorm. We'll call that good. Ponder's fine. That is a shuffle. I will redraw the Brainstorm. Now the question is just like, do I go for it this turn? I can wait 1 turn to play around Daze. My opponent's obviously off a color right now. I think I wait 1 turn. I just continue to fetch basics, though. Let's Brainstorm while that is safe from Bowmasters. Put back Karn and Monolith. Scalding Tarn. Fetch again. Get yet another island. This Ponder is sitting to be my card I pitched to Force of Will, so I'm good here. Black mana is online, meaning things like Bowmasters and Reanimate do stuff. Which is maybe a reason to have just gone for it on my turn. Yeah, it's like real awkward if they can fight over this and win. They can't, or choose not to. Luster or Spell Pierce beats this. Daze doesn't. I'm okay trading with a Force of Will. Emrakul. That's good enough for a win for a 3-2 finish in this league. So how do we feel about this deck list at the end of the league? Like, is the One Ring the new thing for this? I'm not sure. It was very nice to have a plan B that my opponent wasn't prepared for, and the Grim Monolith side of the deck requires different hate than the Show and Tell side does. So, like, my opponent played Null Rod against me. I just shuffled away my Karn and Emrakul them, right? So, it's nice to have A plus B combos that require different hate. But is this just better than playing a more traditional build or playing Vesuvan Drifter? I'm not sure. The One Ring did really get me out of a bind and allow me to combo off through a very difficult spot after weird things happened and I got Boromired. So it's not bad. This is, I think, what I would call an intriguing deck list. I don't know what degree of consistency it actually has. Like, playing a bunch of things like this comes at the cost of, playing some Grizzlebrands or Atraxas or whatever, or some additional cantrips, dazes, Lotus Petals. Like, I can't go as fast as other show and tell decks do without Lotus Petal, and that is maybe the biggest cost. When we were playing against Doomsday, I could like very much feel that speed discrepancy. But I enjoyed playing this a lot. I did lose a little bit of my sanity in a couple of the rounds, though, and I apologize for that. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button on the way out. Helps out a lot. And if you need to buy any of these cards, Cool Stuff Inc., use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya.